So today I'm going to be attempting a repair for the wonderful bushings that are down here. So we have a bushing here for your A-arms and bushings down here for your A-arms. Now the common issue with them is they wear out prematurely constantly. So instead of using the single piece that comes with them factory, I have gone to what is now in the 2019, 2020, and 21 SKS 850 146s and 155s. I believe they also changed into the RMKs. They still use the same A-arms, they use the same pins, but they have changed the bushings. So I'm going to attempt to put these in, and hopefully that solves a lot of the issue with the slop. On mine, there's quite a bit on the lower. The lowers on the front are pounded right out, and same with the uppers are a little sloppy, but not bad. But I figured since I'm doing it, I'm going to do them all at once. So after doing adjustments, this is the play I still get with it. So it's not huge, but it will definitely cause some chatter. This is the one that I've adjusted and greased. It made a little better. Before, it was like this one. Moves quite a bit. Now I have also in these, I got rid of the factory bushings. So these ones are out of the IQ chassis. It makes it a lot stiffer. So on these, there's the center part is built the same, but there is 4 little nubs on the bottom you have to cut off, and then the ends on either side. Now I noticed that some companies are trying to sell these as their fixed bushing, so I'm going to try them out. I have not really put any miles on it since I've done this, so hopefully when I do my next off-trail trip, I'll be able to figure out what's better with that. So with here, I'm just using a pair of snap ring pliers, and just do one at a time. I guess I'll start here on the bottom since I'm already there. And sometimes they're fun. Make sure you don't lose any of these clips. You need to reuse them. You also need to reuse the washers when you're doing this. And there is a washer on each side. You can see how I grease these. Before, I just tried using a synthetic caliper lubricant and didn't quite work out the way I wanted it to, but it is what it is. You gotta try things in order to find something that actually works. So these bushings are just super sloppy. There was nothing that was gonna stop this slop. And you see on here, these pins, there's not really anywhere at all. They're just, it's just the bushings, they just get pounded right out of them. They're just not a real great design, they're pretty soft. I've heard people say that they break. I haven't had any break yet, but then again, I haven't had the sled very long, so see how that all works out. So I'm just going to remove the circlip off the top at the rear one as well. Sorry, this is actually the forward one. Remove everything, and I'm going to try to drive it straight through from one side to the other. I'm just trying to save these bushings. Looks like these were aftermarket at one point. And yeah, just going to hope that this solves a lot of my issues. Just don't like having failures. Easier. So I did end up getting it out. What I did is I just cut like a small slot down it and then just punched it out. Looks like these were an aftermarket one because I do have aftermarket lower control arms here. So these are just supposed to be press fit in. You can just basically drive them in, and they're supposed to be a pretty tight fit. And it looks like they will be that. So looking down here at these bushings, when I put them in, they'll fit perfectly together. There's going to be a small little gap in between, so I figure that's a perfect spot. I'm going to put a bunch of grease in it and try to hopefully get everything so it stays lubricated. Now with these factory bushings, apparently they are pretty light duty. They're nothing real great. So kind of as a good rule of thumb, what I've always done, so there is some little bit of rust buildup in there from water and all that. I take a little bit of emery cloth and just do a light sanding on the inside. It just removes any of the high spots so that things sit together better. Not everybody does it, but it's definitely not bad practice to have. Yeah. Some people may use a file, but I find emery cloth is just a little less aggressive. Got my dog in here with me. My buddy likes to travel everywhere with me. Yeah, you're here. Are you making sure everything's good? Yeah. Alright. Well, that's pretty well cleaned out. Now I just got to put these bushings in. So they'll just be pushed in until they pretty much hit each other. Not a lot of force. You can just put them in by hand. Just like that. Pretty simple. When I go to reassemble, I am going to have a little grease in here. And you just got to make sure you put your washers on and everything goes in nice. Now that fits a lot better once I get the grease on here. It's going to be a nice tight fit. It should wear nice. It'll be a lot better for having some control. I do have a little bit of a wobble. There's a tiny little gap in here, which I'm sure with a little bit of grease, it'll take up everything. And that little bit of grease in there, I think will just make a world of a difference. So I'm just going to be using just some regular grease. Yeah, you could use low temperature, you could use a lot of things. But I just use what I have on hand. I don't buy anything fancy because I'm like every other Joe Blow out there. When it comes to snowmobiling, I'd rather spend it on, I'm going to spend it on gas, obviously, because that's probably our biggest cost, unless we blow up, and then it's everything else on track, or whatever, but, yeah, so that's that one all lubed up, and I just got to put the right pin in, which is this one here, which is a straight one. The third pin goes on the front. You see here, it's a little bit longer. That in. So you have excess grease, so it looks a little nicer, and it goes in. So you want to make sure when putting the clips back in, make sure they fully seat in. Now, one thing I am noticing, these are a lot tighter fitting than what they were before. Like, these clips are just going to go in. So it should be a lot tighter. I'm going to have to get a pair of pliers out to get these to go. Some people are going to say that might be too tight, but it ain't tight, it ain't right. So, these before were so sloppy, it was bad. Like, they spin really nice. So, once I get these in, I'll show you. So, I got the one in, well, the two in here on this lower part. Now, I don't know if it's because this lower control arm is aftermarket or not. I'll find out once I do the upper, because it is still an OEM one. I did have to grind the one shim a little bit down, and then it is really tight. Like, there's no side-to-side movement at all, which is going to be awesome. I don't know if that's going to cause a problem for me or not. I will find out on the trail. Because it's so tight, what I did is I took the other pin, put the circlip in, and just seeing what the gap is in between this when it's at a rest. And then I just compared it here, and that's how I knew I had it right. Now some people are going to say, yeah, you should probably have a little bit of play in there, but I figured with the plastic on here, because the bushing soil is probably going to wear down enough that eventually it will seep even further in. So I'm just going to, basically trial and error, I'm going to try it out myself, and I'm going to hope that it all works out. If it doesn't work out, then I guess back to the drawing board and try something else, maybe go to the brass bushings. I just didn't want to pay the huge price to get them up here. I would have been almost $200 Canadian to get them up here. I know in the States it's not so bad, it's $100 and they ship them to you, but up here in Canada there's not a whole lot of options for stuff. So it's basically just try things that you can get your hands on and hope for the best. And I'm going to hope that doing this different collar, because on here they have 2 collars on these, on the outer ends. Instead of just having one bushing where it goes through, you have one collar edge and then it's just a bushing edge here. Instead we have 2 collared edges. So I'm going to hope that'll help with the wear changes. Hopefully it won't wear as fast. So as you can see here, I got the other bushing out. It slid out pretty easily. And you can compare it to these other 2. You can see this is the collar I'm talking about here. Just that it adds rigidity to it. Where these 2, it has collar on either end. Now, when I put these side to side, they're very similar in length. The only difference is it adds another collar. That's what I'm wondering, maybe that's why I had to grind down that shim. I could probably go without it because of the collar, but I'd rather have it because it just adds some extra wear. It'll give a more even wear component for it. It'll just help it so it doesn't wear that plastic bushing out so fast. But you can see here what I do. I just sand around it and just make sure that it's clean enough. Like, it doesn't have to be perfect. You just slide in pretty easy, and then I just start playing with shimming the bushing and getting everything done right. And just don't skip steps on stuff. If you do, you're gonna have an issue somewhere else, and it's never good when you have an issue somewhere else, because it normally happens at a time where you don't want it to happen, like on a trail somewhere, or off trail, or in a mountain, or anything like that. That's why I'm greasing things. I like things to last. As I said before, I love to see grease bushings coming on these things, but it's just not happening. I guess I feel that the wear that these provide, so that's a lot more solid now. It just doesn't want to go through. Awesome. That's tight. Super tight. Quite that tight, but as I said before, if it ain't tight, it ain't right. And you don't want to slop it. Oh, that is so much better. There's like no play in that now, which is fantastic. Before there's so much play. It's disgusting. Like, as you can see here, there's not much of a gap there. Be able to fit that circlip in. So it just takes a little bit of finagling to get that back to where it needs to be. It's just playing with it, making sure that it goes together well. Don't want to have any issues. I can try to put this on, but I already know it's not going to fit. It just needs to be ground down, and then everything will be all fine and dandy. Yeah, so it's not, the circlip's not sitting here right. I already know that. It needs to be ground down, but I like test fitting things and trying stuff out. As I said, no fancy tools. I have a bench grinder, but most people do have bench grinders, I think. These people that are working on their own stuff. Like just regular pliers, just trying to pull stuff in, and if I can get it together tight, that's where I like to keep it, because then it'll hopefully it'll wear, but that's okay. The whole slud's gonna wear on me, so not much I can really do about that. So I might as well just keep her wearing while I'm riding it. So this one, I got lucky enough. I didn't actually have to do any grinding on these washers. It went together just perfect. Now, both of these are done. This is just for the lower A-arm. I will get the upper one done next. And then I'll put it back together, and we're going to see just how good it is. Like you can see here, like there's not a crazy amount of play. Like people say, oh, just do an adjustment and fix it. Now I've done the adjusting, and yeah, it makes it better, but it's not where I would want to see it. Like this is awesome. Like just how tight these are, it's just fantastic. I like it. It's just something that's gonna work better for me. Like when you do the bushings on something like that on this skidoo here, you get the oil light bushings and the thing's tight. It doesn't move. Like it just doesn't move at all. They're just fantastic. I don't find any oil lights for these ones yet, so this is the next best thing, other than obviously getting the brass, but the brass is just too much money. I can't afford to do it up here. Just not in the budget for me. Yeah. So here with the factory uppers, I've already done this one here. One thing I did do is I left the one washer out. You can see here, there's a little bit of play there. It's not a crazy amount, but it's this that I don't like and I can't get rid of. Now here, you can see how tight that is. Now these are new bushings, but I had to remove this one shim because Jace, back it up, buddy. I could not get it to fit properly. I do apologize for my dog. He does not like to stay out of the way. Can you lie down, buddy? And you can see here, but it's so close to it, I can't even put it in. So when I do have this in, obviously, I'll be just pushing that into the center. And then I'll be doing the same on this, just take up the plate. These inner ones, like the factory ones, they are hard bushing to get out. Like you have to cut them out pretty well. Scrape them out piece by piece. And it's the only way to get them out. Like I'm sure people have other ways. I tried warming it, and it didn't work that way. Literally it came out in little chunks. Once I scraped this out, it then cracked up, and you can see there's a little cut there. I tried to cut it out and just broke it out in pieces. But that definitely made a huge difference in it. There's no play there now. And yeah, I think this is going to make a world of difference for these. If anybody else is having this issue, I'm hoping it will solve it. So just to show you comparison, so this one I have done all of the new style bushings in on the upper and lower control arms on both sides. So I'm going to show you one without them being done. So let's go move this, and you can see how much movement is there. Now I'm sure a lot of it has to do with the lower, but there is movement in the upper as well. You can see how much that is moving. All I'm doing is pulling up on the ski loop. So you can just imagine how much that would be on the trail or off trail or in the mountains or anything like that. Now this has the 850 bushings. And look at it. I'm pulling up on the ski loop just the same as I was on the other one. And there is nothing. Like, there's nothing. That is awesome. That is definitely going to make a way more positive feel, and that'll be so much better on off trail. everything's just going to feel better. The steering's going to be more controllable. Everything will be better. So if you guys are having anything like this, like what I was with that slop, because you can feel it, definitely change out those bushings. Go to the new 850 style bushing. If you look up the 800 for the 19, and I think they made it for the 20, but I'm not sure. Even if you look up the 19 on the 800, it's still the same old bushings, the one piece with the side collar. Maybe if you go to the, like these bushings here, right? Maybe if you go to a new bushing with this style, maybe it makes it better, but they obviously changed it for a reason. I'm going to imagine they had premature wear and they wanted to solve that issue. It's my guess. I'm not always right, of course. But definitely adding a collar like this, it adds rigidity to it. It'll definitely help with wear because you don't get the flex. Especially with having a two-piece with a small little gap in there. You can have lubrication in there. But they're definitely trash. That made a huge difference in the front end. So, yeah. I can't wait to try it out now. I already know it's going to be way better. I don't have much else to say except that was a definite success. Definitely worth the money. Now just to see how long it will last. If it outlasts those ones, which I hope it will, that is just another fix for these axis chassis, at least with the RMK, because the RMK chassis, which is what these are, like for the front end, because they got bigger pins than what the regular axis does. So obviously the bushings are different. Hopefully it makes the difference for me.